Hello, I'm Laura Paladin. Welcome to the Practically Spiritual Show. This episode's going to be a little different. It's not the episode I was planning. I've learned some valuable information and I really want to share it with you. And I want to do it soon while it's still fresh. So let's listen to the theme song together and I'll meet you on the other side and fill you in on the details. Welcome to the Practically Spiritual Show. Together we will learn, laugh, and grow. Break indoctrination, rise above our nation, and soar. Welcome to the Practically Spiritual Show. So, my partner had been sick, has diabetes, and he was on a medication that was supposed to help with that. And unfortunately, this medication just made him sicker. We went through a difficult time, and he ended up in the hospital over this medication. And the Wednesday before February 1st, which was a Thursday, we'd gone to the doctor and gotten really good news. His test results all look good, and he kind of got a clean bill of health. And I slept well for the first night in a long time. I planned the next episode of the podcast, and when I woke up, I thought February 1st, the month of love. My birthday's the 5th. His is the 27th. We like to go out of town to celebrate Valentine's Day. We'd already been talking about all of this, and I was still laying there kind of rehearsing in my head the podcast I was planning to bring to you when I heard him stumble down the hall. I rushed into his office when he said that he was not okay. I called 911, and within an hour, he passed away. I'm told that it's a blessing that my face was the last thing he saw. It was very difficult for me to see his face change to not being his face. That day is kind of a blur. Fortunately, a friend came to stay with me. The next day, like 2 days later, like I said, time's kind of a blur. She could only stay a couple of days, and then I was on my own. And one of our rituals was watching TV together in the evening. I've been getting out quite a lot. I'm a sober member of a well-known fellowship, and I've been going to those meetings, which has been interesting. I've been just trying to stay busy and do all the things that I think are necessary to do, because some people get stuck in grief, and this person was the center of my life. He marked the beginning of a turning point for me in my life that brought me to you and to all of the wonderful things that I've been able to do in my life. It was the sweetest, happiest period of my life. And I told him that a lot. So he knew good and well that he was loved, he was appreciated, and we had a great 15 years. And when that ended, one of the things I did was watch a lot of YouTube about grief and grieving and TED Talks. I found a few creators who were widowed and turned that into their life's work. I found their stories and their encouragement very helpful. So I spent a lot of time watching those videos, and I curated down some of the ideas that worked for me and helped me. And I just want to say, I am going through grief of losing a partner, which is a very specific kind of grief. But we go through a lot of grief in our lives. I have had these feelings, the physical sensations before: loss of appetite, trouble sleeping, upsetting thoughts, crying jags, all of those things I've experienced over other losses in my life. And that's why I think it's helpful to explore the grieving process when we're not necessarily in it. And so I thought this might be helpful for you. And if you've recently lost someone and you're on YouTube looking for company and someone to share your burden, I hope that this is helpful for you in the same way that other videos were helpful for me. I looked this up. There have been roughly 117 billion people that have lived throughout history. That's a lot of people. And every single one of them have had to go through what I'm going through right now to one degree or another. Some people get stuck in it. And I was absolutely determined not to let that happen. I still am. I'm only 18 days into this. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to make this now. I'm sure I'll have a different take on it in another period of time. But right now, I just wanted to share what was working right now. So I watched a lot of TED Talks, like I said, and different sources of information, trying to cobble together what worked for me. And the very first thing that stuck with me that really helped was that people always say there was not enough time. So whether you just met the person and felt a great connection, or you're with them for 50 or 60 years, the response is the same. There was never enough time. So feeling that way is normal. It's a normal response to the experience. The next thing that helped me was number 2, I should say. Like I said, the death rate among human beings is 100%. This will happen to everyone. We love people. My parents are still alive, but this is my second death of a partner in my life. My former husband, who I was still really, really close to, died in 2011. And my partner, Jim, walked through that fire with my children and I. And that really deepened our connection incredibly. He was amazing. I guess what I want to say about that is that we have this sensation that death is not normal, that it's something out of the blue and unexpected, but it is normal. It's normal because everybody dies. And once you start looking around at all the other widowers and people who've lost grandparents and parents and children and loved ones of all kinds, or lost jobs or had breakups, we all go through the grieving process. And it is a normal part of life. We don't like it. It's terrible, but it's normal. So number 3 is ask for help and accept help. People often offer to help you, and then they leave that with you because they don't know what to do. I joined a Facebook group of grieving people, and one of the things I found really interesting was that 2 posts right next to each other. One post was about a woman who felt completely abandoned by her friends and family. She tried to interact, and she just felt like they were put off by her grieving, and she felt all alone. The next post was by a woman who was taken out to lunch by a brother-in-law who wanted to talk about her husband and who wanted to invite her to do the things that they all used to do together. And that hurt her because she felt like it was too soon and that he was being incredibly insensitive. So people don't know how to respond to grieving people because we're all different. And really, what could be wonderfully helpful for one person is extremely offensive and off-putting for another. So when somebody offers you help, accept it. If you feel like you need help, ask for it and be specific, because a lot of the people in your life will show up for you if they know it's what you want and that it's going to be helpful. Oh, the other thing I wanted to tell you is that strangely, 2 weeks seems to be when people sort of fall off on reaching out to you. I had several people that were calling me every day for the first couple weeks. Then there was that weekend, and then I just haven't heard from them again. I'm not angry about it. It's just kind of a heads up that you might want to have that come the 2-week mark. In order to have interaction, you're probably going to have to initiate. Number 4, Jim was the love of my life. I have no desire to have another romantic relationship. A lot of the videos that I watched, it seemed that proof that they'd moved on was that they'd married again. I don't feel that that's for me. I think there's many, many ways to love. I mean, I love you, or I wouldn't be doing this right now. And I feel like at this point in my life, it's about turning my love outward and and sharing love with a lot of different people, not necessarily having that one single person in my life that's my touchstone, but having many people that I am in touch with and having a vibrant, loving, growing community. There's a lot of ways to love in this world, and it's okay to move forward in a different direction. Number 5, as a spiritual person, I feel my partner with me very much. I don't doubt that he's still with me. I've been getting amazing signs, and so have other people who love him. That being said, my body mourns his body. And that doesn't mean I'm not spiritual. That doesn't mean I'm not connected. That means that I want to hug and hold my love. So that's not a reflection of your spirituality or your spiritual growth or your connection. It's just your body will miss the connection that you experienced of the other person's body. Number 6, I find signs from my loved one very encouraging. I've had a lot. It's been very interesting. We were very spiritually connected, and I could do a whole video just about all of the little things that have come up. We had lights flickering. Um, I was listening to Pandora, and all of a sudden, the music shuts off, and I'm like, this has never happened before. So I said, Jim, are you messing with my music? Started playing it again, and I was listening to a song by Traffic, and the music stopped, and the last line was just echoing in my head, and it was, but spirit is something that no one can destroy. And that felt very powerful to me. So everybody has different signs that they look for. My mom sees change that she feels like is coming from her deceased husband. Also, things just end up not where they belong. She put it away, and she feels like it ends up someplace else. And she always feels like that's him. And he was kind of a trickster, so that's not surprising. Number 7, we're here for a reason. We didn't die. So we're still alive, and we still have a purpose for our lives. And it's really important to move forward in your life. You don't have to do anything right away. There's no timeline. Just keep in mind that people who've lost someone or who are going through a great traumatic event will sometimes have a difficult time leaving their home, and they're at high risk for agoraphobia, which is where you're really trapped in your house. Nobody wants that, and it will absolutely defeat the purpose of your life going forward. So whatever those baby steps are for you, I hope you take them. For me, it was the very first night I called a friend and went to a meeting of my fellowship of non-drinking friends. But if you go to church, I've known of people that go to the grocery store and will push a cart for an hour just to be out in the world. It doesn't really matter what you do, but start making those steps to get out there and interact with people, because that will actually help you get healthier in your emotional state. And number 8 is just something that comes from my program of recovery, and that is the next indicated thing. There are a lot. When Jim passed away, we had to make a decision about his body, and I called in friends and family to stand with me while I made all of these difficult decisions. It's things that we'd actually talked about in the past, but when it comes right down to it, the minutia, picking out an urn. Are you kidding me? I was talking to him yesterday. I hugged him before I went to bed 2 nights ago, and now you want me to choose an urn? If you work in a job, then going back to work, when your bereavement ends, may seem impossible. But for a lot of us, finding some solace in that normalcy of being out in the world is really helpful. This is my work. So I did do a little sculpting yesterday, and tonight I'm going to go work on my album because that was important to him as well. He volunteered to fund that for my Christmas present this year because he loves my music and he wanted to see other people get to enjoy it too. So after this recording session, I will be going to another recording session because that for me is the next indicated thing. Number 9, just occurred to me I have more than 10, so I don't know what to do. Anyway, so loss of appetite is number 9. And my appetite has not returned at all. I did feel a little bit hungry today, but when I tried to eat, I couldn't even eat a whole piece of pizza. So that tells you it has not returned. The good news is we can live on a lot fewer calories than what we normally eat. I heard a professor on NPR once talking about how usually if you eat a handful of food when you're hungry, that's enough. And that our bodies actually burn more calories consuming the extra calories that we eat, and that we would be much more efficient if we ate less. So you can get by on less than you eat. However, it's super important to make sure that every calorie counts, right? So make sure that you're eating nutritious, dense foods. And I've never been a smoothie person in my life, but the first few days, one of my friends made sure I got smoothies. And I can tell you that I could drink like a half a cup of a smoothie much easier than I could eat a half a cup of food. So do what you got to do. Don't give it too much power. You need to drink water, of course, but take care of yourself and make sure that your food that you're eating is very nutritious. Number 10 is the stages of grief. I heard this a lot, the 5 stages of grief. Now, Dr. Kubler-Ross cited the stages of grief based on her research with patients who were diagnosed with a illness that was going to kill them, a fatal illness. If you look at those from that perspective, they make a lot more sense. I saw him die. I'm not in denial. I'm not bargaining. And maybe, if they looked at how I am dealing with this, they might say that I am, and I'm just not seeing it the way they're seeing it. But they make a lot more sense from that perspective, right? Of a person that's been told they're going to die than they do from somebody that's undergoing the grief process. So, and they're not linear anyway. It's not like you go, check, like, where are we in the stages of grief? That's not a thing. So just look at it as you're nurturing yourself through the hardest period of your life and go from there. But as far as the stages of grief, I found them less than helpful. Number 11 is oxytocin. When you look at your loved ones, especially your primary romantic partner that you're deeply pair bonded with, you get a rush of this happy love hormone called oxytocin. Now, when they die, that's gone. And if you're anything like me, I got those waves of love from looking into his eyes. I adored the guy. I was flooded with oxytocin every moment that I was with him. Having that taken away is brutal. So discovering what in your life brings you that kind of joy and love is incredibly important. I think that may be why some people want to eat, because they get comfort, love hormones from eating. But there are so many other ways. You can get it from listening to music. You can, hugs with other people that you love, body contact, the squeezing of your body from someone else. That act of compression creates oxytocin in the brain. So getting out into an environment where you're likely to get hugs is a wonderful thing. Also, when you look into the eyes of your pets, you experience it. I know I feel it when I create art. There's a lot of ways that you can do that. If you find that you're, feeling sexual feelings, and that seems really odd and doesn't make sense, the greatest release of oxytocin comes when we engage in sexual activity. So don't be surprised if that comes up for you. It doesn't mean that you don't miss them or that, I mean, that's like a weird response to have to losing your job, right? But just recognize like, oh, that's my body asking for an oxytocin dump, and that's fine. Number 12 is rituals. I have found that some things have been very helpful and other things have been absolutely impossible. So, the first 2 days I wore his clothes. I wanted his t-shirt and his jacket on me. When I sat in the mortuary making decisions about his body, I was wearing his t-shirt and his jacket. I could feel his handkerchief in the left pocket and his glasses in the right. In this way, I felt he was with me, and it was comforting. On the third day, I couldn't even touch his clothes. It just hurt too much. It was like they were on fire. So recognize that what will be a ritual of comfort one time might turn into be something that hurts another time, and then back again. I cannot sleep in the bed that we shared. I cannot. I ordered a new bed. One of the things that I've done to prepare the room is to burn a white candle in the window. For me, that's a ritual of cleansing not our love, but the sadness surrounding it. And I need to let that go because I don't want to carry that forward with me. We have funerals. We have a lot of rituals that are prescribed to us, but be open to things that feel right for you and take a moment and acknowledge and recognize how emotionally intelligent you are when you engage your own spiritual core and you give yourself permission to just express those things that might not make any sense to anyone else. And darn it, they don't need to, because it's for you. You're going to have your own little rituals, and that's really valuable going forward. Number 13, a turning point. I'm just going to read this. For many of us, our lives change in an irrevocable way. We are the authors of the next chapter. Whether we like it or not, obviously, we did not invite this. This is not something I want. However, it's happening. And it's a turning point. And it's not metaphorically. No matter what you're going through, a divorce, a death, a job change, a big move, many, many things cause us to grieve an old life. And this is what we're dealing with. So we have the option of taking a turning point and making it something that we can be proud of. Acknowledging 100% don't want this. 100% would give anything to be able to undo this. But the fact of the matter is my life has changed. It happened on February 1st, 2024, and I can't undo it. I must go forward. And as we all go forward, we need to remind ourselves that we are the authors of what comes next. With whatever resources we have at our disposal to gather together and make decisions about how we're going to live our lives going forward, that's up to us. Something people have said to me a lot is that I will find another partner, which is interesting because it's been like not even 3 weeks, but I think that's something people find comforting to tell you. And I don't want that. That's not interesting to me in the slightest. And I'm 58 years old. I don't know how long I will be here. I'm just going to keep going a day at a time. I'm certainly not looking forward to the day I am in another relationship or any of that. That's just not something I'm aspiring to. And for a lot of people, it seems that recoupling is the ultimate, like that means you've gotten through this, right? Oh, I'm on the other side because now I have another partner. And there's a lot of joy to be found in spending time with other people. And I have no intention of isolating or being alone. But just know that you do not owe it to anyone, not your family, your kids, a person that comes into your life that is like, well, you're single now. If you like me, then Why won't you be my person? You don't owe that to anyone. And if you don't want to, don't do it. And if you do, fantastic and enjoy. But it's your choice and you get to make it. Whether we like it or not, this is a do-over. This is a new beginning in life. Like I said, not one I chose, not one I want, but it's here. And this is what I've learned so far. If this is helpful, I hope you make a comment or come see me on social media. I have a website for the Practically Spiritual Show. It's thepracticallyspiritualshow.com. I also have a website for myself, laurapallatin.com. I write books, I make music, and share my thoughts and hopes and dreams with you all. And a little disclaimer, I guess, I am not a medical professional. I'm not pretending to be a medical professional. I'm just sharing with you my observations and what has resonated so far, and I hope that helps. So, gosh, I hope that helps you know where I've been. And next week I will do that fun podcast that I was planning when my life went sideways, and then we'll get on with the wonderful work of breaking indoctrination and forging our own personal spiritual path, because that's what matters to me, helping you all do that. So until next time, take care of yourselves, and remember, we're all in this together. There is no them. There really is only us. Thanks for listening to the Practically Spiritual Show. I mean it. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end. It means so much to me. I love you. See you next time. Bye-bye.